Okay, so now that we've verified that everything has been set up for PHP mailer, let's actually send our email and test that it works. So I'm going to do if mailer send. So I'm going to do mailer and let's just do send. So you call the send method on the mailer object here, PHP mailer object that is, and if the message has been sent, we're just going to do an echo statement saying message has been sent. Okay. And if the message has not been sent, so we're going to catch the error here in the else statement. Don't worry, we're going to do much better validation in a bit. So we're going to do echo mailer error, and because we have SMTP debug set to 1, we can just have access to that error here. So we're going to do dot mailer error info. So if an error occurs, we have access to a property in the mailer object called error info. Okay, so let's go to our PHP form here and let's fill in some details. So I'll just do Lisa Leon, and I'll fill in my actual email address there as the sender, and I'll just put in subject here as hello. I'll say hello from Lisa. Okay, so I'll click on send, and it says you receive an email from Lisa Leon with details. Okay, so it says that that the reason why that is being printed is because we're echoing body here. So I'll just remove that. So now what I'll do, I'll refresh this form and do continue. So that will try to resend the email, and it says failed to connect the server, connection refused, SMTP connect failed. Okay, so I'll do a bit of debugging, and then I'll come up with the issues after that. So I'll post the video here. After a bit of debugging, I realized that the mistake or the issue we were having in sending emails was with this host here. Okay, so instead of spelling it as HOST like we did here, it has to be in small letters. Okay, so we're going to just type that again, HOST in small letters. So we'll go back in our form here. So I'll go back in the form afresh, and I'll just start typing Lisa Leon. And email is I'll type in my email, and the subject will be hello there, hello, I am Lisa. Okay, so I'll click on send, and if everything works out fine, you should see a whole bunch of text here for debugging, and it should say you receive an email from Lisa Leon. This is just specifying the body of the email, and it says the body here is hello, I am Lisa. And you should see just basically a bunch of text, something different from what we had when we had the error. Okay, so the next thing, let's see how we can validate the form fields. So right underneath here, let's identify the fields that we want to validate. So let's store it in a variable called fields to validate, and it's going to be an array of fields strings. Okay, so the first one is first name. We want to validate first name, last name as well. And we also want to validate email, and then we want to validate the subject. Okay, so let's put it in the next line here. So subject, and finally we want to validate the body as well. Okay, so just a side note, we are not going to do some very rigorous validation. I just wanted to show you how you can validate fields here and then show them as errors in the index.php field here. Okay, but for validation, you can go ahead. I did 2 courses on validation. I'll post them in the links, or you can search on my channel. They're pretty much thorough. One is simple, one is an advanced one. You can apply that to this tutorial series as well. Okay, so just a simple validation I'll show here. So fields to validate, and next let's create a validate function. So I'll say function validate form. It's going to take 3 values input in the form here. Okay, and the first one is the values, which is in this case the post, which is $_ post. That is the value we're going to pass in there. So values, and the next parameter is fields that we want to validate, which is equals to this fields to validate. And finally, it's going to be the errors variable. Okay, so we haven't created that, but we'll do so in a moment, and we're going to have to pass it by reference so that we can modify it. Okay, well, actually, let's not pass it by reference here. Let's make sure that this validate form returns us an array, and we're going to check if that array is empty or not. Okay, so before we implement this validate form function, let's call it right down here. So we're going to say errors equals to validate form, And what do we want to pass in? We want to pass in $_post, and next we want to pass in fields to validate. Okay, so fields to validate, and then after that we want to do a check to see if the count of errors, if there are any errors set by the return value of this validate form, then we want to do a redirect to the index.php field. Okay, but before we do the redirection, let's build up the error variable. So we're going to do errors equal to http build query. So there's something called http build query, which just takes an array and builds it as a query param. So if you have an array of, let's say, the format like this, error1 and some error, and you have something like error2 and then some other error, what this will do is http build query, it will take this array and put it in string form like this. So if you have an index .php, so and then you pass in you append it to http build query, and then you pass in this array. Let's say it's inside of errors. Okay, so just ignore this for a moment. So what this will do is it's going to take this array and put it in query strings in the form of a question mark, and it's going to do error1 equals to some gibberish, and I'm just going to do error2 and some other stuff. Okay, this gibberish in this case is these values here, so I'll just remove all of that. So let's build up that. So http build query, and we pass in errors again. Okay, then after that we're going to redirect by using header. So let's do header and then pass in location. And where do we want to redirect to? Index.php, but then we want to pass in errors as the query param. So let's do errors. Okay, and then finally we want to exit. We don't want anything else to run afterwards that.